Gotta do the garage.
Yeah, I know. Remember? Yeah.
Outside, sweetie. She went outside. Yeah, I built these pantry cabinets and they're not finished yet. I've just got them roughed in, and normally I would sand these first, stain them individually, and then top coat them. But I'm doing these a little different, where I'm building them in and then I'm going to sand them and stain them. But I probably should have sanded them before I actually installed. Like, I should have sanded at least this, and then I could have came, because really what you need to do is once you put this face on this plywood, you need, I like to go in and with some 60 grit or 40 grit or whatever, and sand that with the orbital sander smooth, because you can see, like right there, catches your fingernail, and right there it's a little high. This pantry is roughly 4 foot by 4 foot. Inside's about 43 and a half, something like that. 43 and a quarter by 43 and a quarter. So anyway, when I built this pantry, I put a stud 12 inches deep, because I intended these shelves to come out 12 inches. The only problem is that since your plywood is 8 feet long, if you start cutting 12-inch pieces out, you're going to waste a lot of plywood. So what I should have done is probably cut these at like 11 and a half or 11 3/4. The plywood, probably 11 3/4, and that would have gave me enough for my saw blade width, and then I could have not wasted so much plywood, but that's okay. So these ended up being, so this is a 1.5 inch face, and those are glued and pocket screwed on. And I just get it, and I just like that because it's just a lot stronger shelf. But generally, to try and avoid as much knots as possible, I'll pick out like a 1 by 6 or 1 by 8, and see, there's a knot there. I was getting, this is a lot of leftovers, kind of having to scrounge for what I had this wood laying around, so I kind of scrounged it up. But I'll set my table saw to 1.5 inches and rip these, and I'll kind of cut around the knots if I can. But this is a 2 by 4 that I milled 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and I'll come in and try to sand that smooth. So I'm going to sand all this now, and then I'll give it a stain to match the rest of the wood in the house, and then I'll do a few coats of polyurethane. Oh, the other thing is, I like cutting these underneath here. I like cutting those at 3/4, actually about 1/16 over 3/4, because the plywood isn't actually 3/4 thick. It's actually less than that, like 700 thousandths, 0.7. It's like a 1/16 shy, maybe. I can't remember. So these you can cut. I cut them at, I'll rip them on the table saw, 3/4 or a 1/16 over 3/4, and then screw them in, and then get the whole plywood laid up to them and screwed in and sucked down. See, this is 9-foot ceilings, and from, I wish I had something to set this on. 9-foot ceilings, and I go, this first one's 21. It's actually 20 3/4, but the wood floor is going to go in here. It's going to be about 3/4 thick. inch thick. Probably less than an inch. So try to get 20 inches from the floor on the first one. So 20, 16 on the next one, and then 12, and 10, and 10, and another 12 up at the top. And there's actually a light in the top I need to put in. I'm wired for a light. Oh, let's see, to get this in, and it's all, I've got it in the video anyway, but there's a pocket screw into this column here. To level these cabinets, I like to use the laser level and mark lines out across the studs. But what I also like is the laser level came with this mount, and you can screw it in to the wall, and then it's got this magnetic base that you can slide. You know, the laser level's got magnets on it, and then once you put it in, you can slide it up and down to fine tune it. It's pretty nice. About that laser level, I didn't realize how handy it was going to be. But that's generally how it is when I buy a tool. I buy it for one project and I find 100 other uses for it. These boards aren't really made for staining. These is BC plywood, paint grade plywood. The face frame is number 2 or better pine, but you know, sand it up and it'll look nice. A little stain and polyurethane makes any piece of wood look good, I think. Good enough for a pantry. Oh well. I'm gonna use the glossy in the pantry.
Okay.
That's what I used on the door.
Yeah, I know.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I like satin better.
Me
but-
too.
Well, I've got some satin.
Do you really?
Yeah. Would you rather me use that? Got a whole gallon here.
How about you go ahead and use that? I don't know. You decide.
Just a pantry.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't really smell. I'm put my mask on. Surprisingly, it doesn't stink in here. I was gonna seal this door off, but I think this is gonna be alright. Okay. It's been about 5 hours. I'm going to just throw another coat on here and that'll be it for this job. Nothing real fancy. Wouldn't hurt to give it a little scuff sand, but that's okay. I think this will serve its purpose. Yeah, surprisingly, I've got this fan down here, ducted it out one of the windows, and that's actually keeping the smells. I'll have to go back and do some touch-up paint. I'm not going to, normally what I do is sand and stain or paint individual parts and then put them in. But I still damage the walls sometimes getting them in, so there's always a little touch-up paint that's needed. But what made this job really bad was actually just reaching up and trying to get the bottom side. That was actually the worst part. The touch-up paint on the walls, it's not a big deal. But I don't know. I don't know which way is better. So I think the other way is better. I don't think. The nice thing about doing it this way is that I can get nice kind of tight fits as I build as I go. Anyway. Alright, I'm going to put a light in this pantry. When I wired it in, I put a J box up top, and then actually for this pantry closet I put a switch in down below. But this is a little different because this is the end. I've got the power off, But this is the end of the circuit here. And so what I'm going to do, this is actually just a loop. So what I'm saying is that power comes in here to the light, but I'm going to tie the neutral into the light, and then the power is going to tie into this power, and this runs down to the switch and back up, and I'm actually using the white wire as the return power. Paint some lights on the side. Okay, it's all done. I did put some touch-up paint on the back walls, and did a pretty good job hiding the stain splatter. But I don't know if I don't know. I guess I probably won't stain like that again. I'll probably just build the cabinets outside, and for how I normally do it is build the cabinets outside or in a shop or whatever, and stain them and finish them and then put them in. That's definitely a better way to do it.